Welcome back. You know what time it is. Time to take a close analytical look at the week's top news stories with our Powerhouse Roundtable, and we have a very good one for you today.
We are glad to welcome back veteran journalist and friend Rosemary O'Hara, the editorial page editor of the Sun Sentinel. Also welcoming back our friend Ed Pizzoli, president of the Tripp Scott Law Firm in Fort Lauderdale, an active voice in the Republican Party. And welcome back as well, H.T. Smith, Miami attorney, South Florida legal icon, law professor at law at Florida International University.
You will never lose that now. It's there. It's in the prompter.
And I was there when you were proclaimed a legal icon. You were before you were proclaimed. Great to have you come in. Ed Pizzoli, how badly wounded is President Donald Trump?
A little bit. Let's. But in order to understand Donald Trump, you have to read his book, Art of the Deal. There's a quote in there that says, "Some of the best deals are deals that don't get done." And I think that is kind of the mantra of this American Health Care Act. I would have rather had seen something different than what they proposed. But I probably, if I was sitting in Congress, probably would have voted for it. I do think that's a level of momentum that they missed out on. You cannot scream and yell about repealing and replacing something and then have your first opportunity and not do it. Politics is about incremental progress. Right. And you don't get everything you want. So the Freedom Caucus aside, their position is principled and right, but incremental progress in politics causes momentum and also instills confidence in the voters that you're actually trying to govern. I think that's important.
In the Art of the Deal, he was the great closer, and he tried to close and did not.
Ed's honesty is refreshing. Obviously, the president is wounded, but he's wounded more than he would have been as a result of his bravado. I alone can fix it.
Yeah, well, that's what he said at the convention.
On day one, we will repeal and replace Obamacare. The reason we haven't had improvements is because of the incompetent, stupid politicians involved. I can make the deal. He has, in the Republican Party today, the House, the largest majority Republican in 89 years. He had 44 more votes than he needed. He needed 216 votes.
In the House.
Okay, there are 237, so it's not that much, but he had 21 extra votes. He could not even close the deal with his own party. But more than that, what I was disappointed with, because it's so important, that he quit. He said, we worked on this for 17 days. We know we promised it for 7 years, but I quit.
I don't think he quit.
I don't think he quit. I mean, what he said is, we're going to go to voting on Friday, and it's either up or down. And in fact, he had so few votes, it didn't go to a vote.
I don't think he quit. I don't think this issue is dead, because at the end of the day, Obamacare is failing and it's got to be fixed, and they've got to fix it either with a true replacement, or they've got to go in and do something that lowers premiums, because the 1.7 million people that Perry Thurston talked about earlier are going to be faced with higher premiums and less choices and no doctor relationships. That has to be fixed no matter what we say.
All right, what we saw was the best attempt of the Republicans to fix it. And they couldn't agree among themselves how to fix it. Right. Largely because of this far-right group, the Freedom Caucus. And so how are we going to fix it? It is going to take a discussion with Democrats. And for me, where the president lost is that he not only said, I'm the only one who can fix it, but he also said it's going to be better. We're going to do better for less money. And he forgot who he was. This became a political calculation rather than passing legislation that truly helps people and solves the problems that you've articulated before. So to me, where you go from here in fixing it is bringing Democrats to the table, is finding middle ground, and for him to remember who he said he represented. It was not the establishment Republicans, it was the forgotten middle.
But we don't fix it with government mandates. This is, this idea that the government should impose this on you is just flat out wrong. There's a set of younger people who have been forced to pay for health care when frankly they don't want to, and health care that they don't need, some elements that they don't need. That has to get fixed. This top-down government approach has to stop.
But Michael, excuse me, Michael, you've got to give me a chance to respond to him quitting.
Go ahead, H.T.
A real leader, after this happened, would have said, the buck stops here. We're going to refocus, regroup, and work this and come back, because the people of America deserve to have better health care. He quit. He said, this is too complicated. I'm moving on to something else.
I think he said exactly what you just said, except I quit. He didn't say that.
Oh, no, I said
He
it.
said he's going back to it, and it's not over, Michael. This is not over.
So but go back to what you were talking about before. How, without a government mandate, how do you pay for
There's got to be elements of cost containment inside of the bill. So you've got to have some level of market force inside the bill. There is a bill traversing the House now about allowing lines, state lines to be crossed for insurances to give people more options. There's got to be an element of that. We have to also recognize that we are already paying for a certain number of people's health care, whether it's for the emergency room, which we know is not very, very efficient. And so we're already paying for that as a society. We have to understand that piece. But there has to be skin in the game. So when I go to the doctor and I want to get the doctor orders some sort of MRI for me, I should have to pay for that or have some understanding, some motivation as to why. How much does that cost, Doc? Let me know how much so I can make a decision. We all need to be better
consumers of health care. Rosemary, I was thinking this week as I watched what happened late in the week of George W. Bush and compassionate conservatism. And I looked at these demands from the Freedom Caucus for the 10 essential health benefits that people get under Obamacare, which are maternity care and mental health services, physical therapy, I mean, some really essential services. And they said, we don't want to pay for those.
Right.
And I think that really turned off the Republican moderates and a lot of other people.
Well, and one of the ways you contain costs is you get to people before their diabetes requires that their leg be amputated, or before their cancer becomes stage 4 and now we have to put them on disability. So those parts of Obamacare that let preventive care be paid for is one of the things that, you pay up front or you pay more later. But one other point I want to make, though, is that when you say, that we shouldn't mandate that people buy health insurance and all these young people who don't want it, the reason we have that is that the only way the insurance companies who rule the world would sign on to this legislation is okay, we'll cover pre-existing conditions, but only if everybody has insurance. It's the only way they would go. If there's a way to still cover pre-existing conditions without the mandate, bring it on. We all want cost containment.
And then when a young person who doesn't have good insurance gets hit by a Coca-Cola truck, goes into the emergency room with no insurance, we all have to pay for it. So it's not fair. The Pozzoli plan, I like. Really, I think it's a moderate plan. I think it makes sense. But the plan of the Freedom Caucus is cruel. You cannot take away maternity care and things. By the way, I don't think there are any women in the Freedom Caucus.
Not one.
I think if there were women in the Freedom Caucus,
we showed the photo earlier.
They wouldn't be taken out
of
of
all the older white men, as I said then. Don't you all love them? But
I love this one.
Sitting there.
Break. This is going
with the president deciding women's
But this debate is not over. This is a continuing debate,
and
I don't think the president's quitting.
Thanks. Stay
we'll
with us.
Come
we'll
back.
back.
Hold on. Welcome back live in our studio this morning. A robust roundtable, as I like to say. Rosemary O'Hara, the president's credibility did take a hit. A man who said, I'm a winner, you're going to get tired of winning as much with me. I mean, frankly, to put it in plain terms, he is a loser on this issue, but now he says he's going to come back on tax reform. He can't really have the same leverage that he had in the past.
And tax reform is so many different constituencies, so many different industries and companies, and it's a much bigger, if he thought health care was complicated, welcome to tax reform.
Ed is shaking his head, what?
I actually think tax reform, there's a lot more levers to pull with tax reform. You started with health care, you were in a box because you had to deal with whatever occurred with Obamacare and peeling that layer by layer back. So you were kind of in a box. With tax reform, it's far different. You have different pieces that will be able to cobble together the necessary votes in the House and Senate if they are thoughtful about the way they approach this. So you have to be able to address both individual tax rates coming down, some methodology around corporate tax rates, and the big issue is trying to repatriate dollars that he's talked about on the campaign trail, repatriate dollars that are offshore so we can use them here in the United States.
But we cannot forget about middle-class America. The main promise was that we were going to provide jobs and tax relief for middle-class America. And so I think with regard to this, what we're going to see is an invasion of lobbyists into the Capitol with regard to this. This is going to be extremely difficult. We've got to look at not only process, which was failure in the healthcare, but also the product. And I think that we're going to, if we come up with a situation where we're having tax relief for billionaires and millionaires and not for the working people, it's not going to go anywhere.
Isn't this, though, such a topic that across the board and in a bipartisan way, people are really angling for a less complicated, cumbersome way to do their taxes from the middle class on up?
Absolutely. A less complicated way, but people want to see actual tax relief.
Sure.
They want to see the taxes go down just like businesses. I have no problem with lowering the business tax. I think our business tax is too high. But I think the taxes on hard-working people, when you have someone sitting around betting on the stock market only paying 15% and his secretary paying 20-something, no. That's not right. We're going to fix business taxes, fix those taxes
We
too.
go back to Warren Buffett, who said it's wrong that I pay less proportionately in taxes than my secretary on her income. Ed, let me ask you. Any other week, the testimony of James Comey on Monday before the House Intelligence Committee would have dominated the news all week long, where Comey got up and he said, we have no evidence that there was wiretapping of the Trump Tower.
But we do have evidence that they were surveilled, however incidental.
Not that Trump was surveilled.
No,
Well,
but
not that he.
the
all right.
administration was surveilled in an incidental
Well,
way.
they were surveilling.
That has come
they
out.
were surveilling these foreign. The FISA court authorized surveillance of these foreign. Who are they? And in doing that, they hear these conversations.
But I'm going to share with you, Rosemary, and I would ask HT as well. I would assume that each of you are totally out of your mind by the fact that the federal government unmasked American citizens' names in those transcripts, a true violation of any civil liberty in any manner.
Where have you seen the names? Wait a
second.
You're
Wait,
talking
wait.
about Devin Nunes?
Wait a second.
He is the one who went to
Right.
the White
Wait a
House.
second.
Unbelievably.
I've heard them talk about names being unmasked.
Well,
I haven't heard a name.
Mike Flynn, as an example. General Flynn.
Well, basically, I hope that you're just as outraged about the fact that the FBI since July has found probable cause to believe that someone or someones in the Trump campaign have been working in connection with the Russian government.
Wait a second. Wait.
Yes, probably.
No.
Moving forward.
Your facts are not. We can't agree on the facts because I have not heard that.
Okay, you did hear
I
about.
have not heard that.
Let me
And
ask
you
you
cannot
this.
say it over and over again and make it true.
Well, let's say something different. We do know that Paul Manafort was the
And we do know
campaign
that
director.
the Clinton Foundation gave away our
but-
uranium
but-
source to the Russians.
but it's-
Come
but
on.
it's Russia.
Let's
So
not get
what?
into the
We're talking about Russia.
Clinton Foundation.
Okay, well, Paul Manafort, $10 million a year.
That
he
was
getting
known.
paid.
That was known. That
But
was
he said
known
he had,
then.
But he said he had no connection with the
That
We
was
know that
known
there's a
then. So what?
consensus
Michael,
of the intelligence.
it's just a
No,
coincidence.
we haven't seen one shred of evidence of
Okay.
anything. So don't say collusion because you know how
I didn't say
powerful
collusion.
those words are.
No, I didn't say collusion. I say that's what they're investigating.
And
And they
that's-
didn't say collusion. They said a connection.
What we do
with.
know is that American citizens who were, according to Nunes, were surveilled on an incidental basis. Their names were unmasked, which is wholly illegal. And you and I would agree on how that violates
And what we
American
also know-
citizens'
okay,
civil
let me-
liberties.
okay,
Correct?
okay.
I mean, right?
Rosemary.
Let me also say that what we also know is that there is a consensus among our nation's intelligence agencies that the Russians were meddling in the election. There's a consensus among the intelligence that Russia was meddling in the election, and we know that there is an investigation by the FBI which whether they use the words probable cause, but they are seriously looking into connections between the Trump campaign and Russia. We
need a
know
select
that.
committee?
No, we don't.
We
With
know
all this-
the FBI is not looking into these
we
connections.
know that for decades, Russia has attempted to impact elections, whether they're here or in Europe. That's just a fact. You know, and so
17
Last word
agencies,
goes to you.
17 intelligence agencies says they did affect our election with a specific purpose of helping Donald Trump. That's what 17 agencies
there's
said.
no evidence of that. That's talking points on Democratic side.
All right,
Okay.
that's going to be it for the
Stay
day.
tuned.
Stay tuned.
But boy, what a great roundtable.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.